Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas, everybody. Hello, everybody. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Booth, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Booth Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope, let's get open to this here, and let's wake up the football gods here. Hope everybody's Christmas dreams and packages and everything that you wanted for Christmas got there and got exactly what you want. I hope everybody is safe, and I hope everybody has a great, great Christmas. For me, every day is Christmas. You know, I tell my wife every morning that my favorite time of the day is waking up next to her. It's like, oh, you so sweet. I said, yeah, I'm just happy to be alive, baby. At this age, when you wake up in the morning, you're happy to be alive. But to have that and then have the bonus of waking up to my beautiful bride of going on 19 years, wow, I am truly blessed. So every morning is like Christmas to me. And what would make this Christmas even better would be if the Cleveland Browns were to beat the Green Bay Packers. That's all I want for Christmas. That's all I want for Christmas. And then a chance, of course, tomorrow night when the Dallas Cowboys take on a Washington team that is now licking their wounds. What a difference a couple weeks makes in the NFL. A couple weeks ago, Washington was coming off of a 4-game win streak. They were chanting, "We want Dallas, we want Dallas." We were about to do our tailgate, and I was pulling my hair out because we had so much to do. The Cardinals were in first place in the playoff seeding and so on. Tampa Bay hadn't been shut out. And now here we are 2 weeks later, and the NFL has been flipped on its side. We went from the 4th seed all the way to the 2nd seed and looking like, wow, we could really do some damage here. Now, of course, we've got the doom and gloom that's been going on because everybody's been talking about how bad the Dallas Cowboys, offense and everything is. And you would think that we've lost the last 3 games. But I keep reminding people that we won 3 road games in a row after having 3 games in 12 days. After losing guys like Tyron Smith, losing Amari Cooper, losing CeeDee Lamb, reshuffling the offensive line, Zeke Elliott on one leg, Tony Pollard tearing his plantar fasciitis. In retrospect, when you see teams like Tampa Bay and they say, you know, we lost Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and they don't score a point, we weathered the storm of those injuries, and now we're kind of getting, hit because our defense is playing well and taking away the football. Well, if you take away the takeaways, of course that defense is giving up a lot of yards, but you can't take away the takeaways because that is one of the most important stats there are in football, taking away the football. And generally speaking, I know we as fans, chicks dig the deep ball. We all want to see high-scoring games and stuff. But the reality is, every time Tom Brady has won the Super Bowl, his defense was never worse than 8th. Defenses win championships. You remember Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl? That season where I think he had 14 TD passes? That defense won them that Super Bowl. It wasn't Peyton Manning's arm. It was that defense. But be that as it may, we'll see what happens going forward. We're coming down the stretch of the last week of the year. My God, this year's gone by fast. Hopefully 2022 is going to be an even better year. We've got some issues. Tyron Smith is ruled out for tomorrow. And I don't know, from what we've been hearing, Tyron Smith is feeling better. He's doing better as far as his health goes. But I think this is more out of caution. I bet you if it were a playoff game, he would probably be playing. I think that they're trying to get him as healthy as possible for that stretch run. I still believe that the Dallas Cowboys are holding a little bit back. They're going to do enough to try and make sure they win the game, but they're not going to try and tax people any more than they have to. And I think you're going to end up seeing some games that may look kind of ugly. Again, because you're trying to save it for the playoffs. We have a bit of COVID that we're dealing with right now. Malik Hooker is going to be out because of COVID. Donovan Wilson, fortunately, has been back at practice, and he'll be able to take his slot. Jordan Lewis is going to be out. So this is going to give Kevin Joseph a chance to shine and maybe get a start and play a lot more this week. And, hopefully that rookie will start paying dividends of his draft status. And we'll see how well the Cowboys do. For Washington, they've gotten Tyler Heineke back after being in COVID. They ended up having a safety who's mostly special teams guy who's in the hospital right now with non-life-threatening injuries, having been into a rollover fatal accident just a couple of days ago, which has to be a distraction, I'm sure, for the team. And when you look at the Washington team, I don't like the Washington football team, but you actually have to feel some sympathy towards them. For me, this being hate week, this week is nothing like the week before. The week that we played them before, hearing all of the Washington fans coming to life and we want Dallas and the buildup for the game, the excitement of being at the tailgate, Washington coming off of 4 wins and feeling it and thinking, we got a good chance for the playoffs. We beat Dallas, who knows what happens. To where we are now, it's kind of like how it's been the last 25 years between the rivalry. It's kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's actually sad because I loved having that rivalry rekindled, having that trash talking that was going on back and forth. But right now, between us basically decimating the roster in the game, then COVID coming through and basically giving a game to the Eagles, and now them trying to get back on track and, looking up at everything, it's a totally different game than it was 2 weeks ago. But I will say, don't sleep on the Washington football team because, let's be clear here, it's a division rival. We know each other, and strange things happen. Strange things happen with the Cowboys versus Washington. So as we go through here in the final death throes of 2021, I want to start revisiting some things. I'm always told that, I'm not credible, and that's fine. That's fine. You're a guy with a day job and a voodoo doll, in not my mama's basements, not my mama's basements. It's me, my wife, and the bank's basement, okay? Broadcasting and giving you my thoughts, ideas, and opinions. But I want to go back about 6 months ago, one, because the weather was fantastic outside and the leaves and everything were clear, and revisit some of the forecast of what was going to be the Dallas Cowboys outlook. Let's go to the tape, shall we?
Yeah. How about you, Swagoo, the former Cowboy? How many wins for the Cowboys?
11 wins for the Cowboys, and it's because 4 is back and this offensive line will be healthy and this defense will be markedly improved. And I know people look at this schedule. The schedule for the Cowboys after a few games is not hard. These are teams that were either at 500 or below. They really don't have a tough road. It's all about their division and still in a couple games where people think they'll lose.
Yeah, the offensive line is a big piece of this, getting those guys back in addition to getting Dak back. That's been causing or giving a lot of people a lot of confidence. Kimberly, I always say this is a great month for the Cowboys. They're always very good in June.
Haterade.
But what is your expectation? He's got 11 wins for Dallas this year. Do you see them that good?
So I laughed when Marcus was talking because one day I would love Marcus to shock us all and say something and not be the homer that he is, that Cowboys guy that's like, so optimistic and all that. I wish he would have surprised me and said like 5, because I would have been like, whoa, Marcus, what's going on? But I really do actually agree with Marcus. I think in this division, I give the Cowboys the slight edge because I trust their quarterback more than any other quarterback in that division. And that's saying something because Dak is coming off a horrific injury. But I've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick. I've seen that movie. I've seen, the joy and elation of Fitzmagic turn to the tragedy of Fitztragic. So I don't know how well Fitzpatrick is going to play through 17 games. So slight edge to the Cowboys.
Slight edge Cowboys. Rob Ninkovich, how about you?
I like the Cowboys. Look, on paper, they've improved. And I know paper only goes so far. Now they have to go out there and play. Listen, I think that they are going to be an improved team. You look at that division, there's not really a team in that division where you're scared of them. I mean, the Cowboys are the better team, the best team in the division right now, let's face it. So Dak coming back off an IR, a serious, scary injury. Hopefully he can bounce back and just go right back to where he was before that injury. But defensively, if they improve just a little bit, it'll help them a lot. So I think that they're improved across the board and think that they probably will compete for the division, if not win the division.
Did a linebacker just say that there's no team in that division that scares you? The Washington football team could have an elite defense this year. I mean, they could be elite. Everyone's talking about what the Cowboys offense might be. I'm telling you what Washington's defense level is going to be.
Deep sigh.
Listen, Washington,
he's trying to do it.
Defense, but
I know.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, this is where the delay becomes a real problem. Someone has to go. Marcus, give me 30 seconds. Go.
Listen, man, I'm not going to be baited in this morning, and I know what G is doing. I'm telling you right now, the Cowboys will be improved on defense. And listen, this offensive line, if these guys stay healthy, which health is a question for every offensive line, every team in the trenches, it's one of the it goes immediately to one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And I think about something. I'm watching games yesterday with the Cowboys, going through a little study. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were on a call, and they said between 5 guys on the offensive line against the Washington football team when Dallas played them at home, they had a total of 7 games experience. That's what the offensive line did. And if you remember in that game last year against the Washington football team, it was a 4th and inches, that was a pass and a fake punt that ended up being a tragedy, and that game was blown out of proportion. They played them tough last year with this great vaunted defense you're talking about, G.
That was Thanksgiving, and that was pre-Fitzmagic. I got to take a break, but I'm telling you, on the Late Late Show with James Corden yesterday, and was asked.
You know what? The whole thing about Fitzmagic is his greatest trick is disappearing. He's disappeared out of 10 teams right now, and I'm betting that Washington will be number 11. Now, here's why I think, Marcus
them up.
That's what I've said. I said 11-6. I don't want to try and say, we're going to be 17-0. No, I'm not going to be crazy. I'm a homer. I'll admit it. I am truly a homer. But you have to understand that, as Stephen A. Smith said, that what can go wrong will go wrong. Everything went wrong for the Dallas Cowboys last year. I mean, seriously, we lost our quarterback. And even before we lost our quarterback, we ended up having the, Tyron Smith, basically play 2 games. Lyle Collins didn't get out of the starting blocks. Joe Looney got hurt, who was taking the place of Travis Frederick. And we had Tyler Baddish, a guy who we ended up getting in the draft because we traded with the Eagles. We had Terrence Steele. We had Brandon McKnight. We had other guys. We went through 7 offensive tackles. And as they put it, when we played that vaulted Washington football team, we had a total of 7 games experience throughout the whole offensive line. You put that together with the defense that was historically bad. And I don't think that those guys out there that are talking about, the Cowboys were losing when Dak Prescott was playing, so they'll still lose. I don't seem to think that you guys realize how bad the Dallas Cowboys defense was.
Do you guys realize?
I want to read an article here, just
Let's
kind
go
of putting it exactly how bad the Dallas Cowboys. Could the Dallas Cowboys have the worst defense in history?
This is where we were.
Last season, the Dallas Cowboys gave up more yards on defense than all but 2 other teams in NFL history.
Think about that.
New Orleans Saints gave up 7,042 yards in 2012. The Baltimore Ravens gave up 6,793 yards in 1981. And then the Dallas Cowboys, 2013, 6,645.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Now, the good news was we actually didn't give up that many yards. Oh, no, let me go on. Let me go on. And then in the offseason, they lost their top 3 defensive players per Football Focus. Jason Hatcher, who ended up going to Washington. DeMarcus Ware, who ended up going to Denver and getting a ring. Sean Lee tore his knee up in the first day of OTAs. And Orlando Scandrick was suspended for 4 games. So it's easy to draw some bleak conclusions about the direction the defense is headed in 2014. Sure, the Cowboys were ranked 32nd among 32 teams last year in total defense, but that
he's
didn't
getting to the
mean
point.
that
He's
they can't
long-winded.
be worse in terms of yards and points allowed. Right. 2013, we were 32nd in points and in yardage. We lose DeMarcus Ware, Jason Hatcher, Sean Lee, and Orlando Scandrick for 4 games. In fact, came out with the right suggesting that the 2014s could have the worst defense statistically in NFL history. He said, of course, cites injury to Sean Lee, top defensive pick, and the top defensive pick, DeMarcus Lawrence, Orlando Scandrick, suspension, and loss of DeMarcus Ware and Jason Hatcher, but also points out that the boys have one hell of a tough schedule. The Redskins, Eagles, and Giants all look to be improved, plus the Cowboys face defending Super Bowl champions Seahawks and the entire NFC West, arguably the best division in football, as well as the Saints and the Bears, both of whom had top 8 offenses in 2013, and the Colts, who are primed to have a huge season with Andrew Luck and all of those weapons. It's not as tough. Not as though last season was a walk in the park, but the Cowboys allowed an NFL record 4 quarterbacks to throw for 400 yards or more against them.
That's how bad our defense was.
Year. And it could have been a lot worse had they been forced to face Aaron Rodgers or Jay Cutler, both who were hurt for the Dallas Cowboys matchup. In fact, a 4-week stretch last November and December, which the Cowboys faced 4 consecutive backups. Ultimately, the Cowboys have the 12th easiest schedule last season, according to the numbers crunched by the street. Anyway, sure, they were hit hard by injuries, but NFL Insider, using a unique formula, determined that the Saints, Giants, Bears, Patriots, Broncos, and 49ers and Chargers were all hit about as hard on the defensive side of the ball. So that was 2013, a season that we ended up 8-8 with Tony Romo at the helm. Funny thing was, I don't remember people saying that Tony Romo's a loser, that, people kind of point to the defense. That defense gave up 436 points. That was the most in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they did only give up 6,183 yards.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry. No. 6,654 yards. That's a lot. And considering the losses that they had, believe it or not, that team, with a tougher schedule, ended up only giving up 352 points.
Wait for it.
From 436 to 352. In fact, that's what I was looking up in here. They actually turned that whole situation around because they went from 32nd in points to 15th. Let me say it again. They went from 32nd to 15th. On yards, they went from 32nd to 19th. But more importantly, it's the yards. But the amazing thing is they actually were second in taking the football away. A miraculous turnaround when you think of losing DeMarcus Ware, Sean Lee, Jason Hatcher, and Orlando Scandrick to suspension. So it's not like teams cannot turn around. And I will say the vaulted Washington football team, a little reflux from the meds that I'm taking for the knee. Sorry about that. I apologize. The Washington football team went from 23rd to 4th, 19 spots improvement. So it's not like there's not precedent for teams turning it around. That's the first reason why I think the Dallas Cowboys will be better because, when you say anything or everything can go wrong, will go wrong, it did that year. So you lost Dak Prescott. Your offensive line was terrible. Your defense, you have brought in a new coordinator who tried to change things up. And as I look at it, I don't think it was the players as much as watching it, seeing dazed and confused. I know the guys can play better than what they did. They just had no freaking clue. And there's no way in the world that defense is going to be that bad. Because in some of those games, a play or two different ends up being a different season.
Micah Parsons?
And that's the honest truth. A play or two different on defense. One or two guys in a different position will make all the difference in the world. And then there's Zeke. If you'll remember, a year ago, right now, Zeke Elliott was still in recovery from having COVID. It's been my thing that I swear that I honestly, when we went to the Super Bowl, you might remember I ended up having this hot flash, and I literally passed out. I was dehydrated. My heart rate was going crazy.
Yeah, actually,
I passed out. I had diarrhea from hell.
Actually, I think I had COVID. But anyway, my point being is, when you think about us giving up 455 points last year, we're on pace to give up 100 points less with one more game than we did last year. And this is where you look at the 2014 defense after having a horrendous 2013 defense that literally, when you lost DeMarcus Ware, when you lost Jason Hatcher, when you lost Sean Lee, there's no way in the world that you looked and said that, oh, that defense is going to get better. They were second in the NFL, taking the football away. They ended up being 19th in points and I think 15th in yardage, or I may have that backwards. But you look at the parallels of that. We ended up getting rid of some guys, some older veterans and things, and we ended up getting, of course, Micah Parsons and Diggs stepping up. And this defense went from 28th in scoring defense to right now 7th. And I'm betting that they worked themselves down a little bit lower in there with having Washington, the Eagles left on the schedule as well. So I just wanted to revisit this because it seems like I was actually right. Comments-wise, I probably should go through the comments on the video. Actually, I don't know that people really watch this video that much. There's only a couple thousand views. But I'm sure, Brian Harding, if you go to the bottom of the barrel to rank low teens on a defense, you'll be able to go places. Question is, can Quinn do that with players he has been handed? Mark, I love you. Oh, Stacy Schubert. I love your YouTube channel. People don't like the way you run your channel. They can keep scrolling or create their own. Wow, okay. 10-6 or 11-5. More wins than losses, all I can say. Hulk Hogan has, okay. I think defenses give up when went for 2020. But anyway, you can see where we were. Not too many people thought that this defense would be able to do what they did in one season. But that's the thing about the NFL. Nothing lasts for long in the NFL. Now, I hope you guys have a great Christmas. I'm going to be up here cooking my Christmas dinner, and we'll be watching the Green Bay Packers versus the Browns, rooting for the Browns and hoping that the Cowboys get it together. Sorry I've been a little long-winded this morning, but, I just woke up just so happy because this time last year we were just playing out the string of the games and literally, on life support, hoping that maybe, just maybe, somebody else loses and we can win. And anyway, that being said, it's time to get out of here.
Our folks here, as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is